Hello friends, my name's Larry Hutton and this is Limitless Life. I am going to get to share some really good things with you today about living with Jesus and walking in divine health and walking in blessing and walking in the good things God has for all of His children. I'm telling you, I'm so glad Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me, because when I accepted Him, now I'm on my way to heaven. Hell, of course, was never made for man anyway. If you read the Bible, hell was made for the angels that rebelled against God along with Satan himself. And so God doesn't want anyone to go there. People can choose to go there if they want to reject Jesus, but if you accept Jesus, you're on your way to heaven and you're on your way to an abundant life. Even a lot of Christians don't know it, but you can have an abundant life before you leave planet Earth. You can actually live a joyous, fun-filled, happy, content, beautiful, prosperous life with Jesus on the earth before you die and go to heaven. So, we're going to get back into what we've been talking about. We've been doing a series called There is Power in Your Mouth. This is our 9th program. I'm going to do this one and one more for this series because there's so much good stuff we can cover here. But there's power in your mouth. The words that come out of your mouth are containers. They contain your future tomorrows and next weeks and next month and so forth. And so we've been taking a verse in Proverbs 18. Let's look at it again. We've looked at it every program. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life, this is what it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit. So you're going to, whatever you allow to come out of your mouth, you're going to eat that fruit. But if you love it, literally in the Hebrew, it's letting us know, listen, if I love it where I control it, I love God, and I make sure that I speak what God says, then I'm going to eat the fruit that God wants me to have. I'm going to have the life and the blessing associated with it. So, but it does let us know death and life are in the power of the tongue. So you can remember that word power also means hand. Death and life are in the hand of the tongue. So the power that's contained in the word that comes out of your mouth, formed by the tongue, is going to hand you something. It's going to hand you a good future or a bad one. And so we looked at 1 Peter 3:10, he who would love life and see good days. And if I were to ask anyone I ask, I'm sure, yeah, I want to love my life. Yeah, I want to see good days, you know. So 1 Peter 3:10 tells us how. He said, he that would love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking lies or deceit. So we were discussing, what does God mean by evil words? Let him refrain his tongue from evil. If you want to be happy and content and joyous and peaceful and have a wonderful life and really enjoy your life, then you have to refrain your tongue from speaking what Peter says here is evil. And we found out he's actually quoting the psalmist. So what is evil? Well, we went back, we were discussing what evil words meant. We looked at Numbers 13 and Numbers 14. We found out that when the children of Israel spoke facts and realities that contradicted what God said, that those facts and realities in the form of words were spoken as evil words. God actually called them slanderous words. Slander, a false spoken statement. A false spoken statement. So we found out God calls words that don't line up with His words evil words. So you may not be cussing or cursing, depending on what part of the country you live in. You may not be speaking foul language, but if you're speaking words that contradict what God says, if you're speaking things the opposite of what God says, then God says, no, that's slander, that's evil words, and that's going to hand you a bad future. And in fact, we ended last program contrasting Zacharias and Mary. They both had an angel appear to them, and both of them were told something that was impossible. Impossible for Zacharias and Elizabeth to bear children at their age. Impossible for Mary to have a child without having sexual relations with a man. Impossible. Both situations impossible. But we found out that Zacharias didn't believe what God said, and so God had to shut his mouth so that he wouldn't hand himself a bad future, and so that he wouldn't hand a lot of other people a future, because your future is going to connect and intersect and have something to do with other people's futures. So we need to think about that and not be so selfish, just think about us. We need to be thinking about, you know what, I want to live for God because God's going to use me and it's going to help change other people's lives. So we ought to be thinking about others as well. And so we saw that Zacharias wouldn't believe, but then Mary, after she questioned how God was going to do it. She wasn't in doubt or unbelief because the angel didn't shut her mouth. Once she said, "Be it unto me according to your word," he left. So we see that she was in faith. So Mary found out God said, well, this is how I'm going to do it. Explained to her how, because she had faith, was going to believe what God said. And even though she couldn't figure it out with her little pea brain, how God was going to put a seed in her supernaturally and how it would be the divine Son of God and how she would be the mother of God, she couldn't figure all that out, but she decided, okay, be it unto me according to your word. So she believed. So, and she handed herself a good future, didn't she? And handed me and you a good future as well. So your words are powerful. They're going to hand you a good future or they're going to hand you a bad future. Listen, your tongue belongs to you. Don't let the devil seize it. Do you hear me? Your tongue belongs to you. Don't let the devil seize it. Let's go over to James chapter 3. Here's a good one to talk about since we're talking about the power of the tongue. This is where it talks about bridling the tongue, and if you bridle the tongue, you can actually control your whole body. So this is important if you want to be healed in your body or if you want to walk in health so that when sickness and disease comes against your body, and it will, the Bible tells us it will, so sickness is going to come, the devil's going to come to steal, kill, and destroy. So when he comes, I can use my tongue to control my body and not let the devil or sickness or disease control my body. So James 3:2, for in many things we offend all, but if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man and able also to bridle the whole body. Look at this verse. If any man offend, the word offend in the Greek means to err. In other words, talking about what your words, err in word. See, if any man offend not in word, and that word means something spoken, so it's what your tongue is forming and spewing out of your mouth. If any man err, if any man err not in word. So you can err in word or you can err not in word. Error would be evil, right? Come on, to err would be wrong, to miss the mark, just like sin means to err. So if any man err not in word. So he's saying you don't have to err in word. You don't have to get into evil. Remember, refrain your tongue from evil. Or we could use this verse and rightly divide it. Refrain your tongue from error. See, error is evil. It's slanderous words against God. So if any man err not in something that he speaks, the same is a perfect man, and able to control. The word bridle here means to control or lead the whole body. I used to raise horses back in the 70s. I owned Appaloosa horses, had a colt, raised him up, broke him, trained him, had him standing as stud. So I learned about horses growing up when I was riding, put a bridle in this, let's just say the horse weighed 2,000 pounds. Some of them weighed more. But let's just say a horse weighs 2,000 pounds. Well, he's going to be a lot stronger than you. A lot more muscle, a lot more power, a lot more strength. And so I learned by putting a bridle in his mouth that I could control, and that's what God's saying right here. He's able to bridle the whole body. Bridle. So that means control or lead. See, I could put that bridle on my horse and I could lead it. If I didn't, it didn't want to always come. It wanted to do its own thing. Or I could control, like when I was on top of the horse and I'm riding the horse, if I didn't have a bridle and it all of a sudden got spooked, I couldn't control it. If it got spooked, it could turn and run. Man, we had rattlesnakes and we had all kinds of things down in Florida growing up, so You know, if you're riding along, and we rode through rivers and woods and all kinds of places, and so sometimes something, it could just be a rabbit got spooked, and that would spook the horse, you know, and if you didn't have that bridle, man, all of a sudden you would have been thrown off. But because you were able to keep the horse in control, and that's what he's talking about here, that we can control the body with our tongue. Verse 1 says, Brethren, be not many masters, knowing this will receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. But if you don't offend in word, the same as a perfect man, able to bridle or control the whole body. We put bits in the horses' mouths. So God's using this natural illustration that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body, which is what I would do when I was riding, see. Behold, verse 4, also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet they're turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth, even so the tongue. So he likens our tongue to using a bridle to control it. And then he uses the helm of a great ship where the governor decides, no, wait a minute, I'm not going to let that rudder decide, like the winds that are blowing. And, you know, even though the ships are great, they're driven of fierce winds, so the wind comes along and causes the direction. Well, we have floods and winds and rains in our lives. In other words, tests and trials that try and change us, get us off course, get us off not believing God. And we don't have to let the circumstances, the facts, the realities that are contrary to God get us off course. We can stay on course with our tongue. Even so, the tongue is a little member, just like that helm, just like the bridle. Even so, the tongue is a little member, verse 5, and boasts great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. The tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So the tongue, so is the tongue. Among our members, verse 6 says, that it defiles the whole body. But he just told us now back in verse 2, we don't have to let it. We can control the body with our tongue, right? But it said it defiles the whole body. In verse 6, sets on fire the course of nature and is set on fire of hell. For every beast for every kind of beast and of birds and of serpents and of things in the sea is tamed and has been tamed of man. But the tongue can no man tame. Now, see, a lot of people take that verse right there and start saying, see, there's no way we can control the tongue. God said no man can tame the tongue. The key is no man. But he's likening his word to being a bridle, his word to being the governor in control of that little small rudder. So he says, the tongue no man can tame. It is unruly and evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith bless or curse we men, which is made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceeds blessing and cursing. Now watch what he says. I want you to see verse 10, James 3:10. These things should not be happening. These things ought not be so. And then he gives some natural examples. Does a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can a fig tree, my brethren, bear olives, berries? Either a vine, figs? So no fountain can both yield salt water and fresh. So he's letting us know we don't have to yield our tongue and let it be an unruly member and putting fires into our life and causing all kinds of hell to break loose. Go over to Psalm 39, verse 1 with me. Psalm 39 with verse 1, the psalmist made this statement. He said, I'm going to take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. Well, what is sin? Well, remember, all of the verses we look at, we're going to let verses interpret verses. We already know speaking words contrary to God's words is called evil words, called slanderous words, called bad words, right? Or sinful words, or error, we found out in the last passage. So I'll take heed to my ways, that I err not with my tongue, that I don't speak evil words with my tongue, that I don't speak contrary to what God said with my tongue. That's what it's saying here. I will keep my mouth. Look what he says in Psalm 39:1. I'll keep my mouth with a bridle, especially when the wicked is before me, or the evil, or the test or trials, or the facts or realities that go against God. That's all part of the wicked. So I keep my mouth with a bridle. So that tells me right there that if they could sure do it, if David or the psalmist could do it under the old covenant, we sure can under the new. We have the greater one in us. Greater is he that's in us than he that's in the world, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can be strong in the Lord and the power of his might because of Christ in me. They couldn't even be strong in God's might under the old covenant like we can, surely because they didn't have God on the inside of them. So if they could bridle their mouth, then you and I can too. And that means we can control the tongue with the power of God's Word. Look at Psalm 119, verse 172. Psalm 119, verse 172. My tongue shall speak of your word, for all your commandments are righteousness. You know what that's really saying in essence when it says, my tongue shall speak of your word, for all your words are righteousness? Look, in essence, really, it's really just saying the only way your tongue is going to speak the right thing is to speak God's word. That's what this verse is saying. The only way you're going to speak the right thing is if you speak God's word, because only God's word is righteousness. Look at Proverbs chapter 12. Turn over to Proverbs chapter 12 with me. And verse number 18. Those who speak carelessly stab themselves. Remember I told you you're going to hand yourself either good or bad. Power, hand of the tongue. If you want to create a good future, don't stab yourself, right? Those who speak carelessly stab themselves, but the tongue of the wise is health. The tongue of the wise is health. The Bible in Basic English says, there are some whose uncontrolled talk is like the wounds of a sword, but the tongue of the wise makes one well again. That's the Bible in Basic English. So God is trying to let us know that we can release life or death or blessing or cursing out of the tongue, but we can also release health. We can release health, which is part of the life and blessing. We can release health out of the tongue. Speak health over your body rather than sickness and disease. Proverbs 15:4. Let's go over to Proverbs chapter 15. You're in Proverbs 12 there. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 4. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life. The Bible in Basic English, a comforting tongue is a tree of life, but a twisted tongue, that's one that's speaking error, false things, things against God, maybe speaking facts, maybe speaking reality, but if it goes against what God said, remember, it's evil, it's error, it's sin, it's wrong, it's twisted. A twisted tongue is a crushing of the spirit. Contemporary English version says, kind words are good medicine. Wow. But deceitful words. Remember, he that wants to see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit, guile, lies. Deceitful words can really hurt. Yeah, you're going to hand yourself a bad future. So he says a wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it, in other words, speaking wrong things, breaks the spirit. The word spirit here is ruach. It's figurative for your life and figurative for your mind. Kind of sounds like you're going to be handing yourself messed up life, doesn't it, if you just let your tongue speak anything that comes to mind. But notice a wholesome tongue is a tree of life. The word wholesome is the Hebrew word marpe. Marpe means medicine, a cure, strength, and all that. It comes from Rapha, Jesus, Jehovah Rapha, our healer. Let's go to Proverbs 15:23. Since we're there in verse 4, let's just skip down to verse 23. A man has joy by the answer of his mouth. Remember First Peter? You want to be happy and see good days? A man has joy by the answer of his mouth. Wow. And a word spoken in due season, how good it is. The Good News Bible says, what a joy it is to find just the right word for the right occasion. In other words, when you and I are finding ourselves in any occasion, in any situation, any test or any trial, what a joy it is when we find God's word to speak. That's a good way to interpret this verse right here. In other words, what is the right word, the good word, the God word for the situation, the occasion I'm in right now? Wow. Well, That is basically, what would Jesus say? You know, we used to have these bracelets, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Maybe we need to get WWJS, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus speak? Yeah. All right, Proverbs 21, look at Proverbs 21:23. Whoever guards his mouth and tongue. So we're talking about life and death are in the power of the tongue. Guard your tongue. So that means you got to put a bridle on it. That's how you guard it. Guard your tongue. You keep your soul from troubles. Keep your soul from, the Hebrew word troubles is adversary and adversity, means both in the Hebrew, or affliction, or anguish, or distress. So this is emotional problems as well. Now you keep your soul is, in the Hebrew, is figurative for the body and the mental part of man, the whole part of man. So whoever guards his mouth and tongue, you keep yourself, you keep your life from the adversary, you keep your life from adversity, you keep your life from affliction, you keep your life from anguish, which is depression, discouragement, all those things, hurt feelings, stress and worry, all those things. Contemporary English version says, watching what you say can save you a lot of trouble. Boy, that's the truth. The Message says, watch your words and hold your tongue, you'll save yourself a lot of grief. The literal translation says, whoever keeps his mouth and tongue keeps his soul from distresses. The Lexham English Bible, whoever guards his mouth and his tongue, he guards his life from danger. Wow. All right, let me show you Isaiah 50. I want to tie Isaiah 50 and Jeremiah 9 together. Isaiah 50, verse 4. The Lord God has given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. The Lord's given me the tongue of the learned. Now let's contrast that with Jeremiah 9:5, where people who deceive others, it says, will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies. Compulsive liars teach themselves. They didn't just compulsively start lying. They started lying, telling lies, they taught their tongue. That's why Isaiah said the tongue of the learned. And then Jeremiah said they taught their tongue. Well, we know the tongue doesn't have a brain, so we are learning to let our tongue speak things. When you don't speak truth, you're speaking lies. Just remember that. When you don't speak truth, you're not speaking truth. You're speaking error. You're speaking deception. You're speaking false. You're speaking lies. Well, does God hate a lying tongue? Yeah, Proverbs 6, verse 17 says a lying tongue is one of the things God hates. If you want to read Proverbs 6, 16, 17, 18, 19. 6 things the Lord hates. 7 are abomination. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that run to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among the brethren. Wow. So according to these two verses in Jeremiah and in Isaiah 54 and Jeremiah 9:5, we can teach our tongue. You can teach your tongue to speak the right thing. And of course, the way we do that is we teach ourselves the Word of God. We listen intently to what God has to say. We pay attention when we go to church. We pay attention when we watch a TV program like this. We pay attention when we're listening to a recording or we're watching what somebody says about the Word of God on social media or whatever the source is, or we're reading a good book. We don't just let our minds wander and not get a hold of it. I have to make myself do that in the gym all the time, because when I'm in the gym, I'm either listening to scriptures or I'm listening to a good minister preach the Word of God so I can grow. And I have to make myself, because you can easily let your mind wander. You guys know that. It's easy to let your mind wander so that you're not listening, so that you're not hearing what's being said. And there's been many times I've had to back up. I'm listening to something, so I'll rewind it and listen again to it and realize I didn't catch it the first time. And so we've got to keep hearing the Word of God, so that then out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth what? Speaks. And then the mouth is speaking what God says, right? What does God say? That's what I need to be saying. If I'm saying what God says, it doesn't matter what the facts say, doesn't matter what reality tells me. It may be real and it may be factual, but what does God's Word say? God's Word is what I want to be focused on. When I'm speaking God's Word, hey, I'm refraining my tongue from evil, my lips from speaking guile. So guess what? My days are going to be happy, going to have good days, going to be full of joy, full of peace. Whew, man, going to be living the dream. And that's what God wants for you, my friend. That's what God wants for all of us. And it's not hard. God has not made it hard. He said, man, you yoke up to me, my yoke's easy. Join up to me, my yoke is easy. My burden's light. He'll make it easy on you. He'll make your life. I mean, boy, even when you're walking right through the valley of the shadow of death, you fear nothing. You worry about nothing. You're stressed about nothing. You fear no evil because God is with you. Wow. Man, goodness and mercy are following you all the days of your life, right? Because you're believing God. Well, let's pick this up. I still want to cover some really real important things. You don't want to miss this next program because it's really important as we draw this to a conclusion. Everything that I've been saying is kind of building up so you can see something really powerful in the next program. So don't miss the next program where we'll conclude this series on There is Power in Your Mouth. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Keep sharing these programs with other people because other people's lives are being changed because of it. Thank you, partners. Thank you for those of you that are sowing finances to keep us reaching more people. If you're not a partner, pray about it. If we're being a blessing to you, you can be a blessing to us, but really a blessing to others because that's what we're on for, is to help other people. We love you. We call you blessed. Have a wonderful, Jesus-filled day. We'll see you next program.
Do you know yourself? Not the person the world says you are, but the saved, Holy Spirit-empowered believer that you really are in God's eyes. At times we all struggle with our identity, ability, and purpose in life, but God's Word is full of His descriptions of who we really are in Him. Listen to Dr. Hutton quote the Bible scriptures on who you are, what you have, and what you can do in Him. Build and strengthen the very foundations of your faith, enabling you to believe and therefore speak all that God has created you to be, to have, and to do. To order in Him scriptures, go to larryhutton.org or call 888-887-WORD. Join us again for Limitless Life with Dr. Larry Hutton, where you'll get practical teaching from God's Word that you can apply to your everyday life. Go to larryhutton.org to watch this program and many others. You'll find special offers and resources to help you thrive in life. You can check on Larry and Liz's schedule and join them at a meeting near you. That's larryhutton.org, or you can call 888-887-WORD.